It's 8:30 on a cold Tuesday morning. Frank gets in his car and heads to work. Halfway through the drive, he notices he had forgotten his coffee on the kitchen counter. Luckily, there's a McDonald's drive-thru around the corner. It seems there's only a couple of cars ahead of him. He pulls up to the lot, places an order of an Americano, decides to treat himself to a chocolate brownie, and hits the road. But Frank isn't the only one tricked by drive-thrus. McDonald's and its competitors spend billions of dollars every year and use advanced data to influence our decisions regarding fast food. Everything is optimized to trick you into spending more and more, from old-school tactics to complicated AI algorithms. I mean, the manipulation begins before you even hit the parking lot. And this is how they do it. Fast food restaurants didn't truly take off until American families began embracing a lifestyle centered around driving. As people migrated from bustling cities to suburbs, the demand for quick on-the-go meals skyrocketed. This shift turned fast food into a natural extension of this new, fast-paced lifestyle. The drive-thru concept originated in the 1940s, with the first known drive-thru window opened by Red's Giant Hamburg in Springfield, Missouri, in 1947. However, it was McDonald's that brought the drive-thru to the mainstream fast food market in 1975, revolutionizing the dining experience. McDonald's introduced the drive-thru to cater to customers who preferred quick service without leaving their vehicles, especially during the busy lunch hours. Initially, the drive-in was the go-to format for dining out. Think of those classic scenes from old movies featuring diners with waitresses gliding on roller skates, taking orders from the comfort of parked cars. The drive-in was more than just a meal. It was a social event, a popular destination for date nights and family gatherings. However, the introduction of the drive-thru marked a significant shift. Unlike the drive-in, the drive-thru was designed for speed and efficiency. No parking, no waiting, and no lingering. You simply ordered, picked up your food, and continued on your way. This innovation reflected the changing norms of American life, where convenience reigned supreme. Today, the drive-thru is not just a feature. It's a fundamental part of the fast food experience. A recent poll revealed that 47% of Americans would refuse to patronize a fast food restaurant without a drive-thru. That's a staggering statistic. McDonald's says that their drive-thrus account for a whopping 70% or more of their total US revenue. But that's not simply the result of consumer demand or luck. The design behind drive-thru's success is much deeper than it looks. Let's look at how you get pulled in from a design standpoint. The first thing that brings in customers into any business is attention. These fast food chains are well aware of that. That's why attention-grabbing elements are heavily used on the side of the roads or highways, all in saturated, bright colors contrasting with the scenery. Your eyes can't simply escape them while driving. But what happens when you decide to take that right to get you a McDouble? Drive-thrus are designed into zones, and each zone is optimized to influence your decision-making. So this is you pulling up to the entry zone, that first part where you're making your way from the street to the ordering point. Fast food spots lay out everything in their parking lots to make sure you know exactly where to go. Signs and arrows guiding your way. There's no room for confusion. It might seem like a small detail, but it's all about removing any bumps in the road that could slow you down. In behavioral science, it's called friction, and the less friction, the more likely you are to grab that burger. Drive-thrus don't want you to think about making a decision. Instead, they do the decision-making for you. Moving on to the next zone of the drive-thru layout. This is where most of the magic happens. The first tactic they use nowadays is the dual-lane pre-order zone, which simply splits the waiting line in two. This is made purposefully for two main reasons. The first reason is to give you an illusion that the waiting line is shorter than it actually is. In fact, in most drive-thrus, there's only one person taking orders from both lines. But the lane split kind of manipulates you into thinking the waiting time is going to be cut in half, when it's clearly not the case. And the weird thing is, even if you already know about it, you're still going to be subconsciously falling for it. The other smart thing about the dual lane pre-order zone is that it makes sure the line doesn't creep out onto the main road, which could ultimately block traffic and, most importantly, eliminate any discouraged drivers from pulling up to the drive-thru and reconsider your decision to get food. Something drive-thru joints definitely don't want you to do. This may seem insignificant, but data shows otherwise. The more the driver taps in on impulsive behavior, the more drive-thru visits people make. Now, once you're blocked by the cars behind and in front of you, the second main reason kicks in. This is when things get interesting. For drive-thrus, the pre-order zone is basically an advertisement zone. This is where they try to influence you into buying more stuff. Just like they use the illusion of convenience to lure you in, here they pull the novelty illusion on you. How? Well, it's both genius and simple. When you're stuck in the pre-order zone, waiting to place an order, you're more likely to look around out your window while thinking about what you'll be ordering in a minute. Those moments or minutes are extremely important to fast food companies. That's when you're most vulnerable to impulsive behavior and indecisiveness. And there's nothing drive-thrus love more than an impulsive buyer with money in his hands. So here's the deal. Fast food joints slap up all kinds of signage in the drive-thru to catch your eye with new and exciting menu items. And there's a good reason for this. We're all pretty much hardwired to love novelty, just like we do with convenience. It's called novelty bias, and it means that our brains get super excited by new and shiny things. When you see something fresh and different, your brain releases dopamine. So while you might just cruise past a boring ad for a regular hamburger, if a new, fun item pops up, you're way more likely to take notice. It's all about grabbing your attention and making you go, wow, I need to try that. Fast food places are masters at this, and they know how to keep your cravings alive. If you're already in line to eat fast food, and if it was a totally impulsive decision like it is for most people, then you may be in the mood to treat yourself. According to this Ipsos poll, is one of the major emotional drivers of impulse buys. Some fast food chains have started using anti-glare film on their menu boards, which means you can't see the options until you're right up close. This clever tactic increases the chances that you'll act impulsively. When you can't view the menu until you're almost at the order point, you're forced to make quick decisions or risk holding up the line. This sense of urgency is a powerful behavioral trigger. Studies show that when things feel urgent, you're much more likely to make impulsive choices rather than think them through. If you're sitting in line, calmly considering your options, you're engaging in what's called System 2 thinking, which is more rational and thought out. But when urgency kicks in, you switch to System 1 thinking, which is more about quick, instinctive decisions. This shift significantly increases the likelihood that you'll add extra items to your order. Now moving on to the next phase of the drive-thru layout, the order zone. This is when customers make their orders relying on menu boards. Before the technical revolution we've witnessed in the last decade, menus were boring printed sheets with no visual representation of the items. But that meant customers were more likely to stick to familiar territory and order items that they'd already tried before, which meant less order values for the franchise. Of course, a change had to be made. In 2019, McDonald's invested $6 billion in digital signage across its drive-thrus. Of course, the reason behind such a huge investment wasn't just aesthetics. Digital menus meant more influence on your behavior, and that is done through two main tactics. The first one being the ability to give customers an overly perfected visualization of the item, to the point where the image on the menu couldn't be further from reality, making the product look more appealing than it actually is. And even though we all know this, our subconscious mind never fails to believe the trick. The other psychological trick used with digital menus is the same trick used by magicians, where you think you chose the card you wanted, but in reality they influenced you into choosing the card they want you to pick. Somehow our brains are wired to choose the first option presented to us. In behavioral science, this is called the primacy effect. But what's the first option in a long digital board? Well, in this case, the first option is the one closer to customers, meaning items placed on our eye level. Besides the psychology tricks, digital menus allow fast food chains to customize the layout, messaging, and winning items on any given day. In the first year of implementing the digital boards, McDonald's had a 5% increase in revenue. That's not a small number at all. And if you thought this is a lot, the future of digital menus is even scarier. With the explosion of AI in recent years, digital menu screens are now more capable of influencing your behavior than ever. And that's through a technology called AI suggestive selling. In 2019, McDonald's bought a $300 million company specializing in this particular technology. That's the biggest McDonald's acquisition in the last 20 years. That in itself is quite telling of the potential of digital screens controlled by AI. Currently, this technology is being used to predict the best-selling items according to traffic, dates, and regional parameters. The items known to sell more on a particular day and location would be shown on the menu boards. But in the future, experts believe that this technology could be able to show a different menu for each customer, following their order history, preferences, and patterns, using a combination of facial recognition and license plate readers. And if that's the case, be prepared to invest in a ski mask and a removable license plate. Just kidding. Just keep these tactics in mind next time you pull up to a drive-thru. Subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.